Hey everyone, GXVL here with the brand new anime and manga discussion in regards into talking about the Seven Deadly Sins. That is right, I own not just this particular manga, but also volumes 1 and 2. This one has no number, just that you know that. But I will be calling the volume 0 for this particular discussion. And long story short, when it comes to, for my personal experience when getting into the Seven Deadly Sins, I actually watched the series way before the pandemic happened, all right, just to make that abundantly clear, in that I stopped at a certain point of the anime where I saw King evolve to look a little bit more handsome and tallish, all right, but luckily I was able to come back and rewatch the anime, that way I can properly finish it, and for me to give out my own honest thoughts on the series as a whole. So right now, what I want to do is to talk about where it all began, all right? And there are two different beginnings to this. So when you watch the anime of Meliodas meeting Elizabeth for the first time, there are pilot chapters that mirrors that, but a little bit more differently. What I mean by pilot chapters is that, like, okay, then you're about to come up with the story and see if it clicks. It kind of clicks, but I think you might want to make some changes. And I think that's what's been going down there, all right? But also, get this. There's this event, like, before either you're getting into the anime or in the manga, where the Seven Deadly Sins are facing vampires. And these are the vampires I am referring to. So, yeah, this event takes place before Meliodas meets up with Elizabeth, all right? And I think it's pretty interesting to see that, like, hey, you get to see Escanor right off the bat here in this page. And you do get to see him in action, from scrawny now to bulked up. And if you've seen the anime yourself and just started getting into, like, the manga just like myself, or already seen the manga, like, read the manga, is that, like, yeah, he looks kind of more young. He has no mustache. He doesn't have his luscious and masculine mustache of what makes Escanor Escanor. But even without the mustache, he still looks down looking here. I am not kidding when I say that, alright? And I actually want to talk about something really quick. I'll get back into the story itself, and especially to the pilot chapters that I mentioned. So, what you see here, this is Wizard Merlin. And where I want to pinpoint at is that, like, from my understanding, is that the Seven Deadly Sins, when it comes to coming up with the lore, the characters, and the story, is that obviously the author that goes with the name, hopefully I don't mess it up, Nakaba Suzuki. I'm just going to refer to the mangaka as Suzuki. So Suzuki must have used the folklore that is the whole, like, King Arthur and Wizard Merlin tales, right? But of course, when it comes to Wizard Merlin, this is not a dude. This is a dudette. A chick at that, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. And she does have a very strange abilities here and there, so it's no wonder why she is a wizard, and it makes sense for her character. But of course, still trying to, like, live up to the name, or at least just for using the name sake for the character being, like, presented here, right? And of course, when it comes to King Arthur's supposed to be like he's the hero, he's the main character, right? But no, he's not the main character in the Seven Deadly Sins. He is in the Seven Deadly Sins series, but he's more of a side character up until a little bit later on when reading the manga and even the anime, is that he will become a little bit more involved, and especially another series after that. But I'm not going to be talking about that too much though. So now I got that cleared out of the way, let's get back into to the events before Meliodas meets Elizabeth, right? So, yeah, I think it's pretty cool seeing of, like, what happened, like, with the Seven Deadly Sins. Like, luckily you still get to see them as teammates before being disbanded. What I do recognize is one of the characters when watching the anime later on, which is Gelda. And I think this is one of her relatives when it comes to being a vampire, right? And just to let you know, she is the love interest of Meliodas' brother. And both of them do have a very short interaction, and especially Gelda proposed some sort of idea and a request, but apparently Meliodas decided to reject her request because I think he would love for his brother to see the woman of his life. I won't mention too much about them here because then we'll go on here forever, right? Now going into the pilot chapters. Now I just need to make this very loud and clear and address on how the characterization both Meliodas and Elizabeth are, especially currently speaking, right? So we know for a fact that, like, yeah, Meliodas, like, he's very strong and he seems kind of likable, but I think what is not likable about the character is that, like, he likes to be a little bit pervy in public when it comes to being very intimate with Elizabeth. And I am talking about, like, him keep on groping around her and just looking at her panties and whatnot. So it's weird that he's the main character, and yet I think this is where, like, I hear some of the criticisms that people are put off by, which makes sense in that regard, right? And as for Elizabeth, is that, like, people, if I'm not mistaken, I could have sworn I heard some folks that were not too keen on Elizabeth because, like, oh, she's just, you know, like, not too useful at the very start, maybe at least with the anime, or even in the manga itself, to some extent. Also, she's very shy, very timid. She is a little naive, or oblivious in some things. So, of course, you would think that, like, Meliodas is taking advantage of that type of behavior. Well, now here's the thing why I am mentioning their characterizations is that in the pilot chapters, they're nothing like that whatsoever. They're a little bit more like, using Dragon Ball in this instance, Meliodas acts like Bulma in regards of, like, being mature. As for Elizabeth, acts like Kid Goku in regards of, like, being immature, but being, like, straight up forward and, like, don't mean to, like, cause much of a ruckus, but hey, I'm still gonna be blunt as possible on how I feel. Like, that's how I view Elizabeth as. So let me get into those two particular chapters here for me to show you. Now, ignoring this part, right up top of here, it does say pilot story right there. Pilot story, if you guys are able to see it. And instead of being covered up in armor, it's Elizabeth being covered up in whatever this is. So yeah, there is that. And Meliodas does look a little bit more different in terms of his design. Just a little bit more different there. But Elizabeth doesn't look too much different though. I mean, like, maybe her hair is just slightly different, but not, like, the face is still there when it comes to Elizabeth. And of course, like, just busting into, like, Meliodas's bar, like, she asked the very question, and it gave, like, some side characters or people you don't even know of that are not important a jump scare, and that is like, I'm looking for the seven deadly sins. Does anyone know where they are? And she really has this very like, innocent, coy look that she has right there, and I'm like, I'm again, I'm feeling a little bit of Goku there. Oh, and get this, here's this type of interaction where I'm trying to refer to. Meliodas is telling off Elizabeth, "Don't hum me. What are you going to do about all this?" When it comes to, like, the mess she made. So he is being a little bit mature in this case, right? Oh, and of course you'll get to see like, Elizabeth starting a bit of a ruckus when she says the words, "I hate the Holy Knights." And when it comes to, again, referencing like, not of course the manga, but also the anime for the most part, is that, of course, Elizabeth, she still thinks that the Holy Knights are good people, but they're some sort of corruption. So she's coming from a place of, like, at least, like, not too oblivious nor too naive. but like she sensed there is some sort of corruption, and but I think where I'm trying to get at is that she does feel kind of shy and timid when talking to the likes of Meliodas or anyone else in that regard. All right, so looking at this here, and especially Meliodas in the pilot chapters, trying to like, hey, do not cause a ruckus here, like, do not to start like a fist fight or whatever in my own bar. And also, the other difference, aside from that, is that this pilot Meliodas has a big ass sword. In the in the other parts of the manga, uh, like the official story, right? And especially in the anime, he has a very short sword. So I don't know why you would change this. I don't know, maybe to like subvert our expectations on how strong he really is. I don't know, but I think I would have preferred seeing a strong ass sword since he is the Dragon Sin. Like Wrath makes sense, but I think where I do want to pinpoint here, I'm gonna put this aside for a moment, and where I say that like so. I wonder if the characterizations were changed due to how similar, dangerously similar to the whole Bulma and Goku dynamic when it comes to early Dragon Ball. And for me, it would make sense in that regard. But here's the thing: there are people out there that are not too keen with that relationship between Meliodas and Elizabeth, currently speaking, right? So I think either fans and or people would actually like this original pilot iterations of Elizabeth and Meliodas way more because they don't like pervy Meliodas and they don't want to see useless Elizabeth. They want to see something like this if I didn't know any better. For me, I'm kind of mixed because I'm kind of happy that the mangaka did change that, but at the same time, I would agree that like maybe he or she, I don't know if Suzuki is a guy or girl, so my apologies for that. I mean, I for one would maybe at least appreciate if he were to dial down on the perviness for Meliodas, but like, oh, well, what can you do? And besides, I don't know, I think there is some sort of weird charm about that because when it comes to me watching early Dragon Ball, there are some pervy antics here and there, and especially when it comes to freaking Master Roshi in that regard, right? Is that like, well, here's this. Even though it's a very weird question, would you be bothered if Meliodas was presented to look like a very old ass man, considering the fact that like he's cursed to like to still live like a very young adults in some aspects, because yeah, there are some characters or just side characters thinking like, man, what are you, a kid? Like, man, you must be just a kid. Like, how can you own a bar? And I'm like, he's not a kid. I'm not a kid. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's right, because like, what kid has abs like that? Like, damn. Like, damn. Like, Meliodas looks ripped, but there are weird instances when it comes to both real life and some other places of fiction where like, yeah, kids can have abs, I cannot deny that, but this dude is built like a young adult here. Built like a young adult. So I think I would rather much see this portrayal of Meliodas and not a very old man, because then I think we will be seeing something a little bit way more creepy, if I'm being perfectly honest there. So let's be glad that Meliodas is not. It doesn't look too much like Jiraiya or Master Roshi, even though they're both my favorite characters, despite their being perverted themselves. But hey, I still find them very charming and likable, no matter what. Now, with all that aside, though, I want to know what you guys honestly think when it comes to what I just talked about. When it comes to both, the events before seeing Meliodas meeting up with Elizabeth, and especially what you think about the pilot chapters that I presented here and there. So let's have a civil discussion in the comments below. This has been JXBL saying off right now. Later.